Hello, everybody. Here we are for another Capstone chat. This time we are featuring Andrew Fultz. Fultz. He is a 2011 graduate and he has successfully set up his own business and he is working in real estate. So, Andrew, here we go. Tell us all about it.
Sure. So, as Monica said, 2011 grad in Mass Comm. I was a journalism minor. Um, how I kind of did this was I broke it down by age, by year. That way you can kind of see the timeline of how I progressed and then the steps that I took to get to where I am today. So today I'm age 33, but we're going to go back to when I was 18. So graduating high school, I was a baseball kid and I had no plans of going to college whatsoever. Didn't know what I wanted to be, but didn't want to go to college. And I ended up going to college. So after a long chat with my parents, we decided to start me out with Blue Ridge CTC. Now back then, I don't know how it is now. It's a much bigger campus. I was in an old, it was kind of like a strip mall. So it was in downtown Martinsburg. So in there, you just do your basic courses just to get, it out of the way. It's a little bit cheaper than going to university and stuff like that. So at the age of 18, I started at Blue Ridge and did my basic courses. My high school job was called Duron Paints. I'm sure you guys heard of Sherwin-Williams. Sherwin-Williams had bought that company just before I had started, but at that time, they had not transferred over yet. So as I was going to Blue Ridge, I was still working at Duron, going through, and eventually I switched over to Sherwin-Williams. At the age of 19, I decided that I was already done with the basic courses and I wanted to just try something a little bit different. So I actually transferred over to West Virginia University and I selected advertising as a major. I started getting interested in the business aspects and how to run one just really by taking all these courses at West Virginia. I'm sure you guys know, but most students don't pan out too well at West Virginia University, and I had to come back home. So I transferred at the age of 20 over to Shepherd, but unfortunately advertising wasn't a major. And the closest thing that I could find was Mass Comm. Now at West Virginia, I was already doing journalism as a minor, so that was an easy transfer over. But Mass Comm had a lot of the classes that advertising did at West Virginia with PR and all of that. So it was a fairly easy transfer over. I think I only lost like 2 classes, so not a big deal. Once I started in Mass Comm, you got to realize that West Virginia, you're a number. I would have 300 people in my class, and we would stadium seats up. It's like watching a movie, but you're in a classroom. It's quite terrible to learn that way, and that's not the way that I do it. But when I went to Shepherd, classes were way smaller, 20 people in them, and you actually got to know your professors and get on a level that was just different than what a large scale university was like. So at Shepherd, I really started to get interested in my career that was going to be panning out in the future, but also in the work that I was doing in the classrooms. So even though I was in Mass Comm, business was still in the back of my mind, but now I was doing graphics, I was doing websites and stuff like that. So it all kind of panned around this whole aspect of business. But what really started to interest me, and it was actually one of Monica's classes, was graphics. I actually remember the day that we were doing website building, and she had showed me like the ropes of Photoshop and how you can tweak a photo and move stuff around. It was just like in awe. And I was just like, oh my God, you can actually do this. And so then I wanted to be a graphic designer. That was just something that grabbed my attention. And I really wanted to work with graphics, but in the business related field. So when it came time for me to do internships, Monica, do they still do internships? Yeah. Okay. So I interned at the Journal in Martinsburg for my minor, and I would write stories really about anything, like especially if something came up, like a wreck or something like that, they would send us out. But most of my focus was on businesses and how they run, kind of like what we're doing right now, but on paper. how they ran it, what they were famous for, and just doing stories on a business. My internship for my major was WHAG. That was basically a TV program in Hagerstown, and I did all the graphics. So I would actually work with businesses to do all the graphics that were on the websites. Every single one that popped up, I did. So that was really cool because I got to work hand in hand with these businesses, design something for their graphic and get their message out. So again, I'm still revolving around this idea of business, but now I'm focused on graphics and pushing all the graphics that I can, while also networking with these business owners. For my capstone, I ended up doing, my mother owns a candle business, and it's called Just My Scent. So for my capstone, I designed a whole marketing campaign, PR, graphics, websites, all digital prints, everything I could think of for my mom's business. And it took off like crazy. She started using it. I got all the feedback from it. So I had already built a business with all the Comm stuff that I had learned, and my mom was already using it. So I knew that that could work, and I knew I wanted to do something with graphics, and because that was just fun for me. All right, I graduated. Again, we're going by the timeline. So age 22, 23, something like that. I decided to open a small little graphic company called A to Z Designs, because it's my name, A to Z, haha, it's funny. But I kept my job at Sherwin-Williams. So now I started off as a driver. I'm already in the store. I'm doing both. I'm working as much as I can in the design industry, but it's hard. It's really hard to get just a no-name company that's working on the fly doing these graphics for people. Funny enough, most of my business came from real estate. I would have real estate agents call me and do like where they would get cut out and do a transparent background. That way they can move their graphic around and stuff like that. So that was actually a lot of my business when I was running that, and just working with them and editing photos and stuff like that. So really, really low key and small. But again, I kept the job at Sherwin-Williams. As soon as I graduated, WHAG offered me a job full time. Unfortunately, the money was not there. I was actually making more part-time at Sherwin-Williams than what WHAG offered me full-time, which was just crazy. So unfortunately, the job that I wanted, I turned down because financially I couldn't do it. So at age 24, I started moving up in Sherwin-Williams, and I became a manager of a store. And then I got the opportunity to run a business, even though it was for corporate. I had the opportunity to run a store. So it was at that time 500,000. I grew it to 1.2 million over that was like 3 or 4 years. But I got to run a business, and I started seeing what that felt like to order all your merchandise, have all the bills, keep track of people's time and stuff like that. Same year, I decided to close A to Z Designs. I couldn't scale it to the way I wanted, and I eventually just gave up. So mind you, age 24 to age 25, I'm still at Sherwin-Williams just doing that. So here's my intro to real estate. I started getting bored at Sherwin-Williams because it was the consistent, 7 to 5, clocking in and out, doing the same thing. And I'm a really creative person, especially when, I was a mass comm major and I was limited. Like I couldn't do any graphics. I wasn't allowed to do anything because it was corporate. Okay. They had all their own stuff done. You just copy and paste, put it out, do a little e-blast, boring stuff. Couldn't do anything creative at all. So I started playing around, and mind you, before I said my mom owned a candle business. Well, she was also a real estate agent. And I was exposed to that since age 13. So in 2013, at the age of 25, I started looking around and I wanted to try out real estate. I said, I can be as creative as I want to be, and I can do my own hours, and I can have, a side gig. So I passed my test on the very first try. Not a lot of people do, but at 25, I got licensed. So here's a cool little stat just for a little side. In 2020, the average age of a real estate agent is 54. I'm 25. So the challenges of a 25-year-old in real estate is no one trusts you at all. Why would they? You're a kid. You are responsible for hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt that you're putting someone in. So at the age of 25, I had to figure out how to be creative in making it look like I had experience when I had none. Okay. So I joined Century 21 with my mom. That's where she was at the time. And I started working, a lot of weekends and night, because during the day I was at Sherwin-Williams. So I was putting in the hours. At Sherwin-Williams, they required you to work 48 hours. I would probably work about 20 to 30 in real estate. So I'm working about 70 hours a week. I'm tired, but I had a goal. I wanted to grow something on my own to eventually leave Sherwin-Williams, Year 2, I decided to leave Century 21. I found that in Century 21, they are corporate as well. They were very similar to what Sherwin-Williams was. They would not allow me to be creative enough and do my own ads and do my own campaigns and market the way that I wanted to market. So I left. I found a company in Stevens City, Virginia called Realty FC. The funny thing is the owner broker is a soccer person. So FC actually comes from soccer. He had a love of real estate. He had a love of soccer. It makes them two together. That's where the name comes from. But his terms were vastly different than what I was used to. And he basically said, you're under this name, do what you want. I lit up. I can do whatever I want. I can make my own graphics. I can make my own website. I can do everything just as long as I put Realty FC somewhere. Yep. So that was my, I'm out the gate right now. I'm gonna grow this thing as fast as I possibly can. So that's year 2, 2015. Let's see. Year 3, I really blew up. I was doing my own thing. I was making my own graphics. Mind you, the average age of a realtor is 54 years old, right? They don't have the skill set that I had. They were subbing out websites. They were subbing out all their edits. They were subbing out all their photos, all this stuff that I can do myself because it's easy to me, because I was trained on it. They weren't. So I was being different with my ads, and I was starting to do target marketing. I was starting to put me in front of them in a different way than what they were used to. They're used to just seeing all these corporate America graphics and designs and ads and this is the same old stuff. And when you get a 25, 26-year-old starting to do stuff, it's different. It's speaking to a different class of people that is just not used to it. So at year 3, I was starting to get close to my salary at Sherwin-Williams. Mind you, I'm still part-time in real estate. At the same year, I was awarded gold status at Realty FC, and I was outperforming the full-time agents when I was just being part-time. So gold status means that I had the most sales out of everybody in the entire company, which is crazy. 2018, year 5, I was officially now working 2 full-time jobs. I was getting tired. I was averaging about 80 hours a week, 80, 90 hours a week. But I was doing something on the side that I absolutely loved. I was being creative. I was running my own. I was being my own person. Okay. Mind you, I don't have my own business license yet at that time. But I was being a realtor under Realty FC, but I was doing my own thing. So that's the beginning of 2018. December of 2018, I had an idea. I wanted to start my own company under Realty FC. So the ruling is you can be a real estate business owner but you have to have a broker. And what a lot of people will do is actually hire out a broker just to be your broker of your own company, but you're still the owner. So that's what I did. I took the broker that I was with and I just said, hey, will you be the broker of my company? And we'll keep doing the same thing. You know, he provided the building and we had awesome terms and stuff like that. But I started to do my own graphics of my own logo and all this stuff that I didn't have to use Realty FC anymore. So I can start doing my own thing. At the age of 31, I became a real estate business owner. One of the youngest, if not the youngest, in West Virginia that I know of. 2019, that was a busy year. In February, after 13 years, I left Sherwin-Williams. The scariest thing I ever did. You got to realize I was getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. When you're a business owner, not just commission, but when you're a business owner, that paycheck is not guaranteed at all. And I have all these responsibilities. I have a family now. I have, wife, 2 kids, and I just up and left my full-time job, my I'll call it my crutch. And I just said, you know what? I believe in myself enough that I'm going to go crazy with this. So again, February 2019, I left Sherwin-Williams and I just went to doing real estate. At the end of that year, I was awarded the Hall of Fame at my local board of realtors for meeting sales goals 5 years in a row. I'm the second youngest to ever do that. They have a tier that you have to hit, and if you hit it 5 years in a row, you get Hall of Fame status. But the person before me, so I hit that at age 32. The one before me was like 4 months ahead of me. So almost the youngest, but very close. That same year, so mind you, I have my own business license now. I added 2 team members under me. So now I'm shadowing 2 people and growing their business as I'm training them. That same year, I added an assistant. I got so busy that I couldn't keep up with all the paperwork that I was doing. So I hired somebody else, and now I have 3 people under me. Same year, I added Virginia. So now I'm not just West Virginia licensed. I can go to Virginia too and work there. We're so close in the Panhandle. Why not? Lastly, in 2019, I started an investment company. Hey, I'm a business owner of 2 companies now. So now I can buy and flip rental properties or sell them or keep them. I'm actually working on an Airbnb right now in Hedgesville. So 2020, I guess switch over. My printer died. 2020, welcome to COVID market. This was the weirdest market that I'd ever experienced in my entire life. Mind you, I have been seeing real estate since I was 13 with my mom. The COVID market was really weird. So in March of 2020, we got the news that we were shutting down and all hell was breaking loose. I froze and cried in my office right here, right in this chair. I cried because I didn't know what to do. Luckily, in April, we got tagged as essential because people need houses, people need rentals, and we got voted to being essential. The biggest news I've ever heard. That means I can keep working. It was way different. We had to wear gloves, we had to wear booties, we had to wear masks. It was weird. We couldn't even let kids in houses. It could just be the buyer of the home. So if it's a husband and wife, cool. But the kids couldn't even go in. Like, that's fair housing law. I don't know how we got by with that, but we could. So it was a different animal. Mind you, business, everyone thought it was going to go like down. No, it went crazy. People started to realize how much they hated their house because they're stuck in it. And they started realizing that they hated the people they were living with because they were stuck with them. Divorces went up like crazy, okay? But the housing market just exploded. Interest rates dropped to near car interest rates, okay? They're still low, but at that time, we were starting to see them in low 2s, which is nearly free money, okay? And you got to think about this. You're financing $300,000 at 2.5%. That's like nothing. So everyone wanted to buy a house or sell their house. So I started working in the COVID market, and I was averaging about 100 hours a week. No joke, 100 hours a week. It was nuts. I was going to 11, 12 o'clock at night, writing contracts. I'm going to give you another stat. In 2020, the average sale, we call them, transactions. So the average transaction for a real estate agent was 10 transactions in 2020. A lot of people took time off and stuff like that. In 2020, I did 96. The average was 10. I was busy. It was awesome. Trust me, it was awesome at the year end, but I was tired. But talk about a growth year. I started getting brand recognition. People started seeing my signs. People started seeing like who I was as a company. People started associating the people with me as my team, as my company. We grew like crazy. It was amazing. At the end of that 2020, I added 2 more agents. This year, 2021, I added another assistant because my assistant was busy. So we needed to add another one. And I added another agent. I actually decided to go back to school again, and I graduated from the Realtor Institute. So now, I don't know if you've ever saw this, probably not, but it's tagged as GRI. It just means Graduate of the Realtor Institute. So it's basically college for real estate agents. I didn't do that. Most agents do that at the very beginning. I didn't do it, but I wanted that recognition. I wanted to see if I missed anything. So I dedicated the time to get that done. A few months later, I actually campaigned like I was a politician, but I later campaigned and I was voted in for director of my local board with the highest percentage of votes at 60%. And I'm the youngest director there has ever been at my at EPBR. So as of right now, we are starting to cool off a little bit in the COVID market, but I mean, we're staying busy. We're doing brand recognition, and we're growing the business. So that's all I got right now. I hope you have questions, because that would be awkward if you don't. But what do
I
you
have a
now?
question.
Yeah, go ahead, Grace.
Thanks for coming to talk to us. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, your story is awesome. Something that you touched on was that you had that like marketing and business side to you, so like that logical thinking, but that you also had that passion for the creative side of stuff.
Yeah.
So in your professional career, how did you find, I know you said that you fell into a place where you could do both, and you appreciated that. But do you ever find difficulties with meshing the two? That's my question.
Difficulties meshing the two as being creative and doing the marketing? Not at all. Everything that I do marketing wise is being creative. I can do whatever I want. So with my broker, I'm not going to label him as a boss. He's just more of a pedestal of a checkbox. I mean, okay, you have to have a broker. So do I listen to what he says? No, but I kind of have to. Anyway, I can do whatever marketing that I want to do, as long as it's in the legal guidelines of fair housing and all these check boxes that I have to hit. But as far as being creative, it's whatever I want, which is cool. It took a long time to get there. You know?
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's amazing. That's something that I feel like a lot of people dream of doing. So that's really great.
It took a while to get to that point, and it took a lot of negotiation. Mind you, it didn't start that way. I had that drive of, I don't really work well with others too much. I'm more of, it's just personality. I'd rather lead people, so that's where the idea of being a team lead, having my own business came from, because I don't work too well with people telling me what to do. That's why I don't mesh well with corporate America. I find it repulsive. So I have to do whatever that I feel is right. and then I get to lead the people with their own business. So just to go off the tangent a little bit, my own team, I allow them to run their own business within my business. It's kind of like Inception a little bit, but it's under my guidance. So it's kind of just, it's a unique thing that I've created, but it's been working. I mean, I'm coming up on 8.5 years now, and it's like, if you look at my growth chart, it's straight up, like it hasn't come down yet.
That's awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think is the next step for your business, or like where do you see it? Like what's your end goal basically?
Sure. So I actually just interviewed another agent 2 weeks ago, and he asked me that question. So great question. I don't really do 5 to 10 year plans, because I feel there's so many changes that can occur in that time frame that it's hard to kind of pitch that idea. So I do mine on yearly. But if I was to answer where I'm going to be in 5 years, really not too much of a change. I actually have capped how many agents that I want to have under me at 10. I feel at 10 plus or 11 plus, it's getting out of hand, and I can't focus on what they need. I know what it feels like to be a new agent. I know what it feels like to be brand new and running your own business, and it's scary. And if I have all these agents everywhere underneath of me, I can't focus on my business and their business at the same time. So I don't want to expand that much, but I feel like if I capped it at 10, I could grow that even further, as opposed to having 20 agents and it grows very slowly. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
I have a question.
Shoot.
So this might be a little confusing, so let me know. But what was like the final thing that made you realize that you were ready to sort of leave what you called your crutch of a job?
Yeah.
Like, what was like the thing where you would happen and you were like, all right, this is it. I'm ready to do it.
So in real estate, it's never just one person. You have individual people doing individual roles to get client A to the closing table. Okay. So I actually have a lender partner that I work with. He works for a different company, obviously, but we team up to get these deals done. He had nagged me for 4 years, solid, nearly every night to leave my job. He said, it's holding you back. Fine. So I set a goal. I don't want to talk about money, but I will talk about money because I have to. I had a salary at Sherwin-Williams, and I made a goal that if I doubled it in real estate, I would leave. Did it in 2018. Shit. I hit my goal, and now I have to do it. So I had a long talk with my wife. I said, hey, you remember that 2-week paycheck we get every 2 weeks? It's going to go away. So that was a difficult situation. The main thing I needed to do first, though, was insurance. That was my second goal. I had the insurance. So I had to figure out, at that time, self-employment insurance was stupid, like $3,000-4,000 a month. Okay. Ouch. Yeah. So I needed to figure out how to take my insurance and shift it to my wife. So she got actually recruited. She's a nurse. And you would think, hey, she's a nurse. No, it's not that way. She got recruited to be a school nurse. Now, school nurses get the same benefits as teachers. And the teacher insurance is actually really good. So we shifted everything over to that. And now I was pretty golden. I hit my goal that I said I was going to, and I moved the insurance. So now it's time to leave. The reason that it was in February was at every January, at the end of January, Sherwin-Williams would take every single manager to Florida and let us run wild at Universal. Like they closed Universal and let us go crazy, gave us free beer and hot dogs. So I wanted to go on one last trip, and then I quit. But yeah, it was
Good
nice.
strategy.
So I
Who else
actually
got
have a question for you.
Yep, shoot.
I was wondering, I looked at your website, and do you build that, or do you job it out? And you've got these skills that you kind of developed in Comm.
Mhm.
Are you doing that kind of thing, and your social media skills and things like that? What kind of responsibility do you take on that yourself, or are you jobbing it out to some of your assistants? How's that going? What are you doing?
So here recently, I just started to train them on what I've been doing in the past
Mhm.
at the website. So that's Pride and Joy. That has a lot of hours in it. Using like HostGator and GoDaddy and making them all talk together and work and all of these forms. So the forms thing has been huge. So I started this thing where I made a landing page. Okay, I just bought a domain, and like let's just say that I'm on the road, and I get a call from a buyer, and they start, "Hey, I want 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and all this stuff," and I can't write it down. I'm driving. I created basically a landing page on my website that I say, "Hey, go to timetobuynow.com," and it directs them right to this form, and they fill out all these questions. So it used to be called a buyer consultation. Okay. So that was me using my comm skills to time manage. I didn't have the 30 minutes to an hour to dedicate of, okay, how many bedrooms do you want? Okay, what's your budget? Okay. They could fill it all out quickly at 2 in the morning if they wanted to. And then all that info would come to me. So then when I call them, I'm way more educated on what they want and need and can direct them in the right path that they need to go. So that's just me using the skills that I had learned and created, learned and then created something that was beneficial to me. And if you ask any 54-year-old agent to do that, it ain't happening. They would sub something like that out.
What about social media? Do you keep a social media presence too? Are you doing a lot of Instagram? Are you doing Twitter? What's your presence there?
So I hate Twitter. I really do. I've never got on the Twitter bandwagon. I've actually been using TikTok. Ooh, the young kids are like, yeah. TikTok's actually kind of fun. It's so the average attention span of any adult is around 7 seconds. So TikTok realizes that. So that's why most of the videos are about 15 seconds or less. So it's a little burst of staying in people's top mind. So most of my social media presence is either houses, the Raiders, or trucks. And that's about all the 3 that I go with. So when people think house, automatically they think Andrew. That's not just me saying that. That is feedback that I've gotten from clientele. Hey, I wanted to go to the house. You were the first person I called. So I've associated myself with my career, but it's not like this isn't a job to me. Does that make sense? Like this is a passion. So when you get to that level of, I don't feel like I'm working because it's a hobby you get paid at, that's when you know that you're doing the right thing. When you don't dread going to work, you made it. You did what you wanted to do and what you were supposed to do. Carly has a question.
I was gonna ask what made you use the different forms you did for your website?
So actually, I've been doing, so we don't really want to reinvent the wheel, okay? So we want to expand on it and redevelop it in the way that works for you. So I actually went to a Northern Virginia webinar that they did live. They also did it obviously on the web, but I was there live to do it. Mind you, this is when it snowed like crazy, and I passed 26 wrecks on the way home. Not joking, I counted them all. That being said, this lady had developed just a form that she had done on her own website. She subbed it out, but she was showing her like how it worked. I'm like, man, I can create that. That's no big deal. So I did it. When I got home, I sent her an email. I said, hey, do you mind if I kind of model it a little bit? And she said, no, go ahead. She was in Baltimore, Maryland, way out of my area. So it's not a competition, whatever. And I took her idea and I expanded on it. And that's kind of what most real estate is. I mean, real estate's been around for many, many years. So you're going to see a lot of the same stuff, but for you to do some of the same stuff and make it your own and make it new, something that's really old, make it new. That's how you get recognized. That's how you start getting associated with what you do.
You know, Andrew, you could, if you wanted to, give us a little tour of your website, because you could just share your screen and share that if there's something you think is particularly interesting.
Sure. I have an old computer, so. Can you see that?
No, you're gonna have to hit share screen.
That's what I did. Did it not work?
No,
Oh, there we go.
now you're starting.
Got it. Okay, so here, I'll just show you this real quick. So as far as my website goes, I needed something that was really simple, but also something that would be recognizable and people could remember. So I just put call in front of my name. Hey, call a real estate agent. So when you do the share screen, it actually takes. Oh. What is this? Not secure because I'm sharing my screen.
No, you just got an HTTP instead of HTTPS, apparently. That's kind of interesting. You can just say advanced and go on.
Let's try it again.
Proceed to www down at the very bottom.
They're calling me unsafe. It's rude.
Is it
That's never happened before.
www or is it just callandrewfultz.com?
Either one works. There it goes.
There.
That's weird. That's never happened before. Maybe because I'm sharing the screen. So because I'm sharing the screen, this takes like a while to load.
You know what you can do if you wanted? You can also just stop your video and then it won't be pushing out so much. You'll probably be a little faster that way.
Okay.
Well, we can see what's going on. It's okay, Andrew.
Yeah.
It's all good.
How's that?
Yeah, we're fine.
There it goes. Okay. So this is just the main screen, but what I wanted to show you is, see up here where it says time to buy and time to sell. So these are forms that people will fill out, whatever they're doing, if they're buying or if they're selling. So right there. And then all this questionnaire pops up. So this is basically all the questions that I would have asked in this 30 to 60-minute buyer consultation. And they get to fill all this stuff out. So the longer that I've been in business, the more that I've realized that when you start being personal and start remembering, the favorite restaurant, coffee shop, that's when you start to become memorable. That is the ultimate goal. Okay. The way that I approach my business is I would rather stop a sale than sell you something that you don't want, need, or can use. I am not a car salesman, and that's how realtors are perceived. I'm different. I want to be, on a personal level with you. So if I know that your favorite restaurant is Outback, and at the closing table, you get a $50 gift card to Outback, I remember that. okay? Or your favorite store, your favorite team. Hey, you know, the Mountaineers are playing, and I remember that's your favorite team. So I'll send out a, you know, congratulations on the win or something like that. I want to be on the level of friend as opposed to salesman. I hate that word, and it doesn't need to be that way. I want to guide you in this role that you're trying to do, this very scary role of spending $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. Okay. And I'm the one that's educated on it. So I need to guide you in the right direction and road. But I wanted to show you this. So here's the graphic, or here's the form for buying, right? So I'm on the road and I say, hey, awesome that you want to buy, no problem. Do me a favor, go to this website and fill out this form. That's probably going to do the not secure thing again. Oh, no, good. And look what popped back up. It went directly to it. And I got one for timetoSellNow.org. It's for my sellers. The seller wants to sell his house. Cool. I'm on the road, but hey, can you go to this website and fill this out? And I'll call you back as soon as I get done driving. So timetoSellNow.org, and it redirects right back to, oh, look, the form for selling. So these little shortcuts that I've made have really helped me as far as time management goes. But these are all skills that you learn in, you know, in Comm, and you can use them to start a business, to run a business, I mean, mainly what I do is time management, but you know, just you think about the skills that you have and use them to your maximum capability. All right, so let me read these real quick. Ricky's got a question. Hold on, Grace. Are there any classes you would especially recommend for your time in Comm? As a senior, this is kind of my last chance. Are there any classes you would specifically recommend? Webpage. It took me a minute to refresh my skills on webpage. That's probably why I have so many hours in it. But that was an awesome class, and you can really utilize a website in today's world. You can run a whole store on a website now. Okay, you don't even have to put clothes on. You can be in pajamas and run your whole business online. So if you don't have the web page class down to a T, I mean, that could be something that you do. I mean, mostly what I do is just I read a lot of books that pertains to my field. But as far as Comm goes, just anything that you can do on your own as opposed to subbing it out, that puts you ahead of the game. Ricky, what's your question?
Yeah, so my phone kind of cut out at the beginning of you describing how you got into the realty business. So were you saying that you started out like advertising for the realty company?
So I had a graphic design business, and a lot of my clientele was realtors or real estate related, you know, lenders too. And I was just more fixing graphics for them, cutting them out, putting them on something different, doing ads for them, doing you know, e-blast campaigns for them, stuff like that. But as far as where real estate came from, it was my mom was an agent, so I was exposed to it once I was, you know, 13 to, you know, I'm 33 now, so I've been around it for a long time.
Right. Also, did you use a website builder for your website? Is that what you're saying?
So you can use I'm trying to think of the one that I had. You can buy like templates and then heavily modify them. So I had a template, and it was more just like shapes, and then I almost scratched it and then just did my own thing. But yeah, I mean, there's templates that you can use and then just go from there.
Are you building on WordPress, Andrew, or?
Yeah, WordPress.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Thank you.
Who else? Anybody else got a question?
Grace, did that kind of answer what you were asking, or do you want something more?
That's good.
She's muted.
Okay. Well, trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to ask. If there's one thing that you wish you'd learned in college and you didn't, what would it be?
I mean, I'll go back to the web class. I really wish I would have did a little bit more with that, just because there's so many hours into website building. Any website builder, give them all the credit that they deserve because they have a lot of hours into their craft. Maybe a little bit more PR, I would say, dealing with different age groups. I have to kind of mold myself every single time that I meet somebody new. I have to almost let them speak first, see how they speak, and then adapt to it. And then they trust me more because I'm on their level. So if they talk really fast, I have to match them. They talk really slow and precise. That's what I got to do. So as far as PR goes, I need to translate their way of speaking and learning into a graphic. And sometimes that can be hard. It's not a one size fits all.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Anybody else have anything else that they want to pop in? Your last chance? We haven't had, I was telling Andrew that we haven't had very many people that actually started their own businesses. I assume that you work with a good accountant, that you don't take that on yourself, right?
So most people work with CPAs that are local.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very unique. My guy's in Kentucky. One of my investment partners is in Michigan. So I don't do anything by the book. I kind of write my own thing. So I work with people that I trust and that I would personally do business with if I was the one in their shoes. So my lender took a long time to find. Communication was key and trustworthiness. So I don't care if you're in Kentucky. I will work with you if you're on the same level of commitment that I am. Just to give you a quick example, my first assistant lives in PA. She's all remote based. So we set it up that way. But she was on the same level as my thinking of how to run a business. And I brought her on and it's been remote ever since and it works.
Yeah, it's interesting. My husband also has his own business and our accountant is not West Virginia either. And he goes online and he goes to these places where you can find people to work with. And right now the development for software is being done in Venezuela. So it really is, it's changed a lot. You don't need to have any, they don't need to be sitting next to you.
Yep. Well, I mean, I think for the graphic world, fever has really upset everything. I don't even know where I've used it a couple times just because I needed something quick, but it's all, foreign based and they do stuff like $5. Like how can you, as a business owner in the graphic world, how can you compete with that? $5 to them is $500, in our money. So when they convert it like that, it's hard. But I mean, there's a lot of things that are online based now, but use it to your advantage to get the best people to work with you.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thanks so much. It's been great hearing your story and just reconnecting a little bit. I love, what is your TikTok? Where can I find you on TikTok? What's your TikTok?
Almost everything is called Andrew Fultz.
Okay.
It's called about brand recognition.
Just plain old Andrew Fultz.
Call Andrew Fultz. You got to put the call.
Call Andrew Fultz. Okay. There we go. Then I will find you and I will watch your crazy TikToks. That should be cool.
Well, it's mostly house based, but just you gotta get the following and stay consistent.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, Andrew.
No
Thank
problem.
you.